Projekt Guru.
Всем привет! С вами Zak Novak на радиостанции Novorossia Rocks. Welcome to Novorossia Rocks Radio Station. This is Zak Novak, your American in downtown Donetsk. Program is called Projekt Guru, and Guru is in the house as always. Guru, thank you so much for all the hard work that you do. Andre, my engineer, is here as well. Quickly, Turkey, journalists, civil activists now considered terrorists in Nazi Erdogan's Turkey. Turkey President Erdogan has claimed the definition of a terrorist should be changed to include their supporters, such as MPs, civil activists, and journalists. It comes after 3 academics were arrested on charges of terrorist propaganda after publicly reading out a declaration that reiterated a call to end security operations in the southeast of Turkey, a predominantly Kurdish area. Mr. Erdogan has said that the academics will pay a price for their treachery. A British national was also detained on Tuesday despite having ordered arrests after he was found with pamphlets printed by the Kurdish-linked People's Democratic Party, HDP. It is not only the person who pulls the trigger, but those who made that possible who should also be defined as terrorists, regardless of their title, Junta President Erdogan said on Monday, adding that this could be a journalist, an MP, or civil activist. His comments came the day after a suicide bomb attack in the country's capital of Ankara killed at least 34 people and wounded 125 others when a car bomb was detonated near a main square in the Kizlaya neighborhood. Violent action between the government and the PKK, which is being blamed by authorities for the Ankara bombing, has reached the worst level for 20 years since fighting restarted last July. Hundreds of civilians, militants, security forces have been killed since the summer. Junta President Erdogan has already threatened the future of Turkey's highest court after it ruled that holding 2 journalists in pre-trial detention was a violation of their rights to freedom of expression. The journalists, Cumhuriyet newspaper editor Kaan Dündar and Ankara bureau chief Erdem Gül, were arrested on charges of revealing state secrets and attempting to overthrow the government. They reportedly face calls for multiple life sentences from prosecutors and will stand trial later in March. Syrian army stops ISIS attack at Hama. 2 of the terrorist vehicles, one equipped with heavy machine gun and the other loaded with weapons, were destroyed. Early on Thursday, an army unit ambushed ISIS terrorists in the eastern countryside of Hama province. According to the source, the ambush resulted in the destruction of a truck loaded with weapons and ammunition intended to be sent to ISIS terrorists in Al-Sheikh Hilal village in Hama eastern countryside and the death of a number of terrorists. Army units killed a number of ISIS members in Altar and Al-Hahaya Mountains, Al-Mutalat, Wadi al-Zakara, and the area surrounding Tadmur city in Homs countryside. Viva Assad, Viva Syrian Army. Let me bring in my co-host Natalia for news from Novorossia.
Military sitrep of Novorossia, western and northern suburbs of Donetsk were shelled by Ukrainian armed forces last night. Ukrainian subdivisions shelled by mortars western suburb of DPR, capital Donetsk. Populated house was destroyed. Petrovsky district of Donetsk was subjected to shelling by Ukrainian Nazi forces. As a result of shelling, private house on Shestakova Street 97 in the village Trudovsky was destroyed. It was pointed out that the shelling was started at 10:30 p.m. and it was lasted more than 1 hour. The village Staromikhalovka was also shelled. In regard to the provided data, the hostility carried out the shelling from positions in Marinka. Altogether, 17 shells were launched. Armed nationalistic groups attacked also the northern suburb of Donetsk at night. Ukrainian fighters started shelling the village Zhabichevo at 11 p.m. Later, the airport was subjected to shelling also, it was reported to the agency. According to the data, Ukrainian forces conducted shelling from the village Pesky and Opitnaya using mortars of 82 and 120 mm caliber, grenade launchers and small arms. It is necessary to point out that the 7th ceasefire regime was agreed in Minsk on 13th January 2016. Do not forget that it is the 7th ceasefire regime, and we see now that Kiev conducts more intense shelling day by day with the use of heavy armament. It means that they are still carrying out the genocide of civilians of Donbass. Elections in Donbass are to be held, Merkel and Hollande reminded to Poroshenko. French President and German Chancellor held talks on Thursday with Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, during which reminded him of the need to implement the provisions of the Minsk agreements and to hold elections in Donbass. Today is the second anniversary of the Crimean Spring. Massive celebration is planned for today in the Crimean cities. The President of Russian Federation Vladimir Putin departed there today in the morning. It is necessary to point out that DPR, Donetsk People's Republic dwellers, went out to the main square of Donetsk to support citizens of Crimea and to express their will to be friends and to congratulate them with the reunion with Russia. About 3,000 people of Donetsk gathered in the Lenin Square.
The U.S.-Saudi coalition systematic targeting of civilians, a crime against humanity, UN report. U.S.-backed Saudi warplanes launched a series of airstrikes against crowded marketplace in Hajjah province Tuesday, and UN officials finally established a final death toll for the incident, saying 119 civilians were killed. Saudi officials, who on Tuesday denied having attacked the market at all, today confirmed the incident, saying they attacked a Khat market where a militia gathering was happening, backing it up with claims that as many as 33 of the slain were Shiites and thus presumptive allies of the Houthi rebellion. The incident is the latest in a number of huge incidents of Saudi-U.S. airstrikes killing large numbers of civilians. As the Saudi war approaches its one-year anniversary, estimates have put the death toll in the war of 6,200, with the majority of them being civilians and those overwhelmingly killed in Saudi strikes. The UN issued a report earlier this year harshly critical of the Saudis for their systematic targeting of civilians across Yemen, saying it could amount to a crime against humanity. They also faulted the Saudi naval blockade of Yemen as an attempt to deliberately starve the population, and this all backed by the Obama regime. Since the Russian success and pullout from Syria, Putin declares we will be back if necessary in his first extensive public comment since ordering the Russian pullout from Syria earlier this week. President Vladimir Putin declared the intervention a success, which has set the stage for a negotiated settlement which would end the ongoing civil war. Despite this, he was already talking about the way in which Russia would return its still withdrawing military forces to Syria in the future if it doesn't work. U.S. officials had similarly been saying Russia had achieved its goals in involvement in Syria, which centered on protecting the territory around its Tartus naval base and preventing a collapse of the Assad government. Officials didn't seem to anticipate the Russian pullout, however. Putin insisted that Russia had invested relatively little in the conflict, saying it cost less than $500 million over the course of 6 months, and the money came out of their war game budget. That's likely a significant underestimation given the number of airstrikes and cruise missiles Russia used, along with Sukhoi 24s destroyed in a Turkish attack. He also sought to allay Syrian concerns that the rebels would quickly regain the advantage in the war, insisting Russia could bring back most of its forces in a matter of hours if they had to, and would continue to commit its S-400 air defense system to protecting Syrian airspace. Putin, I will be back. Guru, listen to this. 2 governments in Libya. Competing governments of Libya fighting for control. Officials from the Tripoli-based government, one of the 2 rival governments currently operating in Libya, today warned that the UN-backed unity government, which formed earlier this year in Tunisia, is not welcome in the capital city. A government that has been imposed from abroad without the consensus of Libyans has no place among us. The government insisted in their official statement. The unity government has so far been stranded in Tunisia, with factions along the border not letting them in. The UN has been pushing for consensus on the unity faction of late, but the UN-backed Tobruk parliament, the other extant Libyan government, has already voted overwhelmingly not to recognize the unity body, so Tripoli's statement just makes it unanimous. Several Western nations have been talking up invading Libya of late and have predicted this on the establishment of a unity government. The UN may continue to argue that such a government technically exists, though without at least getting them inside Libya, it's going to be a tough sell that it's the strong local allies the U.S. wants. Quickly in Iraq, Iraqi security forces freed a group of Yazidi women held captive by ISIS, the Islamic State, in a covert operation behind the group's line, a defense ministry said on Wednesday. It did not say how many women were freed, when or where. Islamic State captured around 5,000 Yazidi men and women in the northern region of Sinjar in the summer of 2014. Some 2,000 have managed to escape or have been smuggled out of the Islamic State's self-proclaimed caliphate in Iraq and Syria. Activists say Islamic State considers the Yazidis to be devil worshippers. Listen to this, Guru. The Islamic State considers the Yazidis to be devil worshippers. The ancient Yazidi faith blends elements of Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and Islam. Guru, very important. Obama and Turkey furious, oppose Kurdish autonomy in Syria. Kurdish officials say autonomy is best way to protect Syria's territorial integrity. Officials with the Syrian Kurdish forces say they intend to declare a democratic federal system immediately in the territory they control across the northern Syria, formalizing their de facto autonomy over a broad swath of the Syrian side of the border with Turkey. The official announcement is scheduled for Thursday. The PYD, the primary political force in the region and a political wing of the YPG, the Kurdish militia in the region, says that the decision was taken after consultation with regional minorities and says autonomy is the best way to protect Syria's territorial integrity into the future. That likely won't sit well with the major rebel factions in the ongoing Syrian civil war, which have angrily rejected the notion of federalism in recent comments, envisioning a powerful, heavily centralized state with themselves at the helm after the war. Turkey, which attacks YPG forces intermittently, is also furious at the announcement, with their foreign ministry insisting they would never recognize Kurdish autonomy in the region. And even though the plan appears modeled on what the U.S. imposed in Iraq Kurdistan back in 2003, the Obama administration has also expressed opposition, saying they oppose any autonomy for Syria's Kurds. So that just tells you, Guru, that just tells you the United States never supported the Kurds. Never. U.S. puppet regime Ukraine, a disaster case, the only country without protection from polio. Ukraine could be a month away from becoming the only country in the world without protection from polio because of delays in licensing a new vaccine, according to the World Health Organization, WHO. Health workers in Ukraine, which is currently battling a polio outbreak, will be unable to continue inoculating with an older type of vaccine from April, when batches of the older version must be discontinued and destroyed. It's the only country out of 155 still using the old vaccine that hasn't done that, said Dennis King, WHO Ukraine's polio outbreak manager. The impact is that those unprotected children in Ukraine will allow the virus to continue to circulate. As long as the virus continues here, it's a risk to Europe, it's a risk to the neighbors. The Global Polio Eradication Initiative, led by the WHO, has planned a worldwide switch from trivalent oral polio vaccines to bivalent ones next month. The move is part of an effort to eliminate type 2 vaccine-derived polio now that its equivalent has been declared extinct. Trivalent vaccines will be destroyed to prevent any chance at all of transmission. Hey everyone, that ends our program. Thank you so much for listening, stopping by. Please, as I stress, stay safe out there, be alert, have a great weekend, and see you all on Monday. Bye-bye, folks.